Okay, because it's going to be a continuous process. They have to continue.
Security personnel are, and what you have seen, and what you think should be done more to ensure that we have peaceful.
Yes, when you now take it to the issue of security, it's bordering on defense security. In the sense, we are talking of protections of life and property. But so far, the security agency, they synergize within the army, the police, the navy, the air force, even customs. Some of them are going to be deployed into it. Now, I can say authoritatively that they have done their bit. They've given the confidence that the public, you should not have any fear of molestations. You should come out and vote freely of your own party or your choice. They have done the best. But we'll be able to see at that particular day whether issue of thuggery and all that, and how security is going to manage it. But so far today, I can say that yes, they have put everything in place, because over about 4,000 policemen have been deployed. Because in any elections, police is the frontier. They are the leading. So IG has come out clearly saying about 4,000 police, over 4,000 has deployed to monitor these elections for security. Army are also there. But in most cases, army are on patrol. But police will be within the confines of the polling unit where they will be. Then also, you now see that the police will now watch who are coming to vote and how do you vote, and you left. So where the agent of each political party will be there, because these are the things we observe, where they needed to sign to make sure they are being called by each party, making sure they are present before the INEC will start anything, and when they close and all that. These are what we are now going to observe, because the INEC official will be the one conducting the exercise, while the observer are the one now going to be observing all these processes, where there will be delay, how to improve, and where the elections is smooth and need to be improved upon.
Okay, I know that after the meeting, I know you had some interaction with some of the foreign observers.
Yes.
Now, what feeler have you been getting from them as regards the, their overall assessment of INEC and the entire preparation and everything? Just talking about the election process generally, what have you been saying?
Mostly, Nigerians, we still have that. We are one of the giants of Africa. There's no doubt about it. Most of the foreign observers, even from other countries, from our head of state, they are in town today, which some of them have started arriving, is to see the process and be able to be proud of Nigerian leading in terms of democratic process, whereby they now copy certain things that we did it very well. Then they'll be able to replicate it in their own side of the country. AU, all this, they have representative. UNDP, they have representative. All these are still part of foreign observers. The essence is to monitor, to see how Nigerian has been able to conduct vis-a-vis the INEC, the machinery, everything they put in place, the security apparatus, then so that they will be able to learn out of it and where needed to be observed. So it's the same thing in other countries in West Africa and sub-region. When they are having their own elections, Nigerians envoy also go there to observe their elections. In fact, I remember the immediate past head of state, which is President General Goodluck, was also in one of the Africa countries where he went there and he now observed. When he came, he's even trying to say that, look, there's area that we too we needed to improve upon, whereby issue of vote buying, it should not be allowed, how to boycott it, how to stop that. So these are the essence of observing each other's elections, is to improve on what is being done very well and to get away what is not done properly. Then you can now bring it back home. Yes, this is the essence of why the foreign observer too are here, is to share ideas in between that this area can be improved upon. Because Nigeria is a golden child that most of the Africa countries look upon, because we are leading. Forget about even our issue of current reality and challenges, because the advantage is enormous. So they still look at us. We have the highest populations. Imagine when you are conducting an elections where you have a strong candidates today that are well known globally and are contesting in these general elections than the populations of the people. You cannot get it in any of the African country. So this is why we are big. The elections is big.
I know before the program you told me how much you've also traveled out to observe other elections. After the break, you tell us what and what we can emulate from others. Even though we know we are the giant of Africa, we also have some other things to pick from these other countries and make our own democratic process better. So time for break to listen to what other election observers have to say in this Vox Pop as put together by Suleiman Abdul Wahab. Don't go away.
Any observer that is caught with any political party during this 2023 election, his accreditation letter should be withdrawn.
There are some reports that actually need to be reported instantly. I mean, there are other reports that you need to take your time to write them and report back to INEC. And there are reports that are very worrisome that INEC needs to know about a particular polling unit can be reported instantly.
One of the principles is to comply with security advisory, and one is to comply with the culture of the community or state that will be observing the election. And the one is also to confirm with traffic rules, so we don't go out breaking the rules of traffic. And then also to provide and project public confidence in elections. And then she also identify the strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats in our own reports to help the commission in further next elections.
Yes, if I am in Abuja Municipal Area Council, I'm going to observe from one polling unit to another within the Abuja Municipal Area Council. So that's how we're going to do it.
Welcome back. We are watching Nigeria Today, and we are discussing the role of election observers. My guests is still Dr. Hassan Sadiq. So you heard what some other election observers have to say there. What are your thoughts on some of the things they said?
Yes. First of all, I think let me say this. INEC has have 146,913 observers. Why about 144 groups produces these numbers to tell you how much the number that the observers are today. Yes, as rightly some of them has mentioned, there's elections of security that observers need to observe the conduct, the manner of the security in the process of elections and collations. In fact, sometimes when after collations in the previous, we follow them to the collation center. Then from there down to before the announcement and situations room of INEC. So we now observe and follow the rules and regulations. As I've said, you are not to take part in the elections or discussions with the agent. No, that is not your business. Your business is to observe and put everything down. Then while later, you can now put up your report and send it to INEC. Vis-a-vis the area you have observed, what you have seen, and what needed to be improved upon, and where they have done well. Most especially, there are areas where today they complain about late arrival of material. Now, which in most cases, it delayed the elections. These are very important, that it is we are now going to get the report to the INEC that in these particular locations, this particular state, there are delay in terms of material. The voters has been on the queue, has been waiting. So then they will now look at it, what is the cost, is it the logistics? Then they can now plan to make sure such things will not happen again. All these processes, what it does, it helps in the credibility of the elections, and INEC will take the glory.
Okay, now you just, of course, just caught me there when I wanted to ask you the use of this report, because everybody keeps talking about compiling reports.
Yes.
The people the observers that spoke shortly just now, they talked about compiling reports, and even the foreign observer, they compile reports. I was wondering, apart from what you've mentioned, what use are these reports to our democratic process so far? You told me that this would be the 8th time you're observing internal elections.
Yes.
So, and you also go out to observe. So far, the report you have presented, what has it been used for?
Yes, sometimes at the level of policy making, you are to advise, but you might not have the privilege to implement them. But it is good for you to observe. For a simple example, I've advised the INEC in the past through the process of my observing that, look, it is not only when we are getting to general elections that INEC should start registering people who are now up to the ages that can vote. It's a continuous process. That is one. It is through the manner we have observed before that today your PVC can be transferred to another state. Mm-hmm. Yes, if, for example, you stay in Abuja and you decided to travel to Benue, Kogi, other states, and you want to vote there, then before then, your beaver can now be transferred to that state. Mm-hmm. These are some of the reports that in the past we don't have it, that today you have it. So you can see it is giving improve on the electoral processes. Mm-hmm. Time is going to come again. You can say, okay, do you need to really come out? Can't you stay through your smartphone? You vote. It's a process. Then time is coming again. Must you have a particular polling unit to vote? Just like you have your ATM, where in any ATM machine, whether it is your bank or not, you can go there, slot in your ATM, and you withdraw money. Then we are now looking at that level because we're in the age of technology.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yes. So these are part of things we advise the INEC, that the window are there, the technology is there. Just like the beavers we have today. Before there was no beaver, but today we are having the beaver. It is as a result of how we have been able to observe the elections, see the loophole, then so that it gives the citizens the hope and the confidence that the elections is true transparent. Because there are some cases where I've said once the particular politicians lost the elections, it results to hate speech, simply because it does not believe in that conduct of elections. But really, the result being announced, it is true and fair of that result. But because of the process, he never understand. Then he look at it, it has been compromised. So election observer, it is key. The report will now help the INEC that as we move on democratically, then we should improve on the process. In fact, for several times I've written a report that we should spend money on process than results. Because in the past, most of our politicians, what they want is announce my name as the winner. While I've said no, invest more in the process. And Beaver has now taken that again, which means we are gradually investing in the process, because it is the process that will now produce the results. At that time, once you have the confidence in the process, you have the confidence in the results and the outcome of the elections.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we went on break, I asked that you go out of the country, just like you rightly told me, that you go outside the country to observe elections.
Yes.
Of course, I agree Nigeria is a giant of Africa, but there are things you have observed in other countries, in other small African countries, that you think we should emulate.
Yes.
So what are some of these things that you've seen that you think we need to replicate here? That would be,
Yeah, there are parts of observed in Ghana. We have seen that there are processes sometimes you don't put a candidate picture in a souvenir because it looks like it's a vote buying, which we have observed. That why do you need to put a candidate in terms of here you are giving someone a bag of rice and you are putting the picture of a candidate? You are indirectly inducing the voters. So which with time in our law, such things we are looking at, we should also implement it, whereby don't give any voters anything with your picture, with intentions that is vote buying. So these are the things we have observed in some other country where they don't do that. Two, we have also observed that during the campaign, they dwell more on issue base. Issue base in the sense that don't look at what is the person is going to offer when he wins the elections. not issue about who he is. But why here we try to look at the candidate who he is than to look at what are you bringing to the table. Because a child today might be a man tomorrow. So don't look at that. Look at what is coming to offer. Yes.
Okay, so you observe that in
You
Ghana?
observe that. Yes.
Wow, wow. So, wow. So generally, what would be your closing remark?
I think generally my closing remark on this general elections, the elections is going to be free and fair on the basis of preparedness of INEC and the security. Those who go out permutating elections will be mixed or violent and all that I didn't see. And sometimes I keep on saying, in an elections like this, for a simple example, most of our schools today are closing down. I say no, it is wrong. To me, it borders on national security because you cannot, it is security agents who will tell you there are insecurity. On this basis of these elections, the school should close down. But authorities should not just wake up and believe that because we are getting into general elections, the school should close down. You are now having it in the minds of our children to grow that our elections is mixed with misfeeling. I don't agree to that. But so far, with the preparedness of INEC and the police and other security agency, we are going to have a free and fair elections.
Thank you very much. And that's it on Nigeria today. Our thanks go to our guest, Dr. Hassan Sadiq, an election observer and a security strategic expert. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you very much for having me.
And that's it. Thank you very much, our viewer, for always being there. Don't forget, Nigeria Today airs weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am your carrier, Clinton, saying bye for now.
Fashion has been described as a form of self-expression and autonomy at a particular period and place and in specific contexts of clothing, footwear, lifestyle, accessories, makeup, hairstyle, and body posture. In its everyday use, it implies a look defined by the fashion industry as that which is trending. Nigeria is known to be one of the most fashionable countries in Africa, with over 250 ethnic groups. Each has something uniquely beautiful in its dressing style. Africa is a place of spectacular fashion practices in textiles, jewelry, hairstyles, or multiple combinations of all these. Today, Africa has an extremely rich and evolving fashion culture, leading to the emergence and the multiplication of African fashion weeks, top stylists and designers from the continent. West African prints have long been a multicultural and international trade item in the wider sense, with vibrant colors and patterns. African fashion is taking over the world by the storm because African fashion or designs have been able to distinguish its designs from that of every other continent. The enormous leverage on the impact of the social media is helping African fashion gain global recognition, thereby influencing inspired ideas into their work. That is why a lot of international celebrities are taking interest in African styles and prints. Though African continent has brought in new dimensions to have various prints, designs and styles, the Ankara prints, for instance, is a game changer. They have in no small way changed the face of African fashion, both locally and internationally. Over the years, The stereotype of reducing the wearing of African prints for many wedding ceremonies, planned church activities, funeral events or child naming ceremony, among others, are no longer correct because they are now hugely popular and accepted. In the past, African clothing were worn more by the elders, and it was not so attractive or acceptable to the younger generation. This was because African prints were sewn in styles looking raw and not creative. Fast forward to the year 2000, dynamic and impressionable styles began to emerge in big A0 paper and hung in shops of tailors and seamstresses. You could look through the styles and choose what you want. Then came the emergence of young tailors and designers. Then the policy of wearing traditional dresses on Fridays by the federal government of Nigeria. This policy impacted positively on the boom experienced in the promotion of African prints and the various designs and styles that comes with them. Indeed, the African fashion has come to stay.
It's a mission we insist on accomplishing. Many have warned that it's like following the footsteps of hikers. We even had the privilege of the footages of the bridges washed away leading to Safari, a local government in Yobe State, where nature is reacting to global warming.
About 80 kilometers into our journey to Yusufari and only about 20 kilometers to the popular Dapchi town, we met one of our major hiccups here. The major bridge here has been washed away by torrential rains. Young boys from villages around have improvised ways of taking people across the other side for waiting vehicles for people to continue their journeys. It has become just like a market, a car park, and also an opportunity for these boys to take home some change.
I came from Maiduguri heading to Gaidan. We are told that the bridge here has collapsed, but we were managing our way on Thursday. After crossing for my first trip, I slept in Babangida. On arrival at Dapchi, the road has failed. So I made a U-turn to Damaturu, Potiskun, Gashua to Girigiri. There again, water has taken over the place. My car broke down. My timing belt caught, so I went to buy another one. The place I went, Garimbiri, was also below water.
They said if you find yourself in Rome, you have to behave like the Romans. Here we have found ourselves in a section of the road towards Yusufari, and this is the only way for us to cross over. So we are doing exactly what the people here are doing, finding a way out of this situation.
Our belongings taken across, leaving us in disused bathtubs.
And here is our next mode of transportation. It is going to take us about 15 kilometers, where we're going to get another vehicle that will take us to the next point, which we are told that it is the same situation here that we're going to find there, because the same bridge that will lead us to where we're going to has also been washed away by torrential rains.
Couple of minutes, we were at the next hurdle.
Another major stumbling stone on our way here, they call this place Jumbam, is about 90 kilometers to Gashua. Gashua on our way to Yusufari. Our next mode of transport is going to be a local canoe like this one. We're going to step in and it will take us all across the water here, then towards that way where vehicles are waiting, a temporary motor park that will take us to Gashua.
Paddling across roaring waters. Above, it is life at its fullest. On the grounds, fishermen warming up for a bumper harvest. A case of one man's food, another man's poison. With about 200 kilometers left, we took a bus and behold the popular Dapchi town and its girls' school. Sad memories still lingering in the minds of victims. Gashua, a bustling town, opened its arms. The journey on tarred road ended at Yusufari. Behind us, the palace of the emir. With a special vehicle, we hit the sands of the Sahara. It was a journey of 40 kilometers to our destination, where it took about 2.5 hours. Tulo, a beautiful village with the Sahara forming a noose around its neck.
Descending from one of the heap of sand dunes here in Tulo, I concluded that the case of this sand dune is a double-edged one for the people of Tulo. One is a calamity in the form of desert encroachment, and secondly, it is a blessing if properly harnessed.
A border village with its inhabitants having vivid imagination of how they lost their farm and grazing lands.
To my understanding, it is like 32 years ago to 40 years, where the sands begin to consume the city, south of the village. There is no place I have not weed grass. Smaller vehicles normally follow south of the village to other places, but suddenly they begin to witness increase in the sand dune, eating up plenty houses. People keep moving while the sand moves too. Now we are all stuck in the middle. In fact, when President Obasanjo came, it was better. He came and said that the government will build a third road, but nothing has happened. Even at the gate between Nigeria and Niger, the Sahara wasn't as much. We used to play there and graze animals. All those places encroached by desert used to be our grazing land. But today, it is all gone, and every day it is increasingly threatening to consume the village. Now everywhere is sand, no grass, and every day it is increasing. We hope the authorities will listen to our cries. We are scared that one day the sand will eat up the village.
Kuna shakkan wata rana kila ta haɗe garin?
A sosai ma wannan ba gudu. Mu gidajen mu ma a bayan gari yake. Yanzu haka in naje in kaje kaga gidana za ka yi mamaki ni da nake maka maganar ma. Kawai Allah na dan dake.
If you see my house now, you will be surprised. Between my house and the sand of the Sahara is just a matter of meters. But recently, there are efforts to plant trees and some houses were built. Nobody entered because of the threat of the Sahara. Even now, if you go, you'd see how we are planting some shrubs, hoping if it comes and germinates, then we will have some respite.
Kuma 'yan nazar lokacin da suka zo sun zo sun yi aiki akan wannan hamadan kafin tafiyansu a lokacin mulkin Abacha.
There were some researchers who came and conducted research on the Sahara before they left. That was during Abacha era. They came and carried out research. We saw their efforts, but unfortunately, they could not conclude the work until their tenure ended, and they left the village of Tulu. Thereafter, some NGOs came and worked on the Sahara, but no progress, and we are poor people. We cannot do the work ourselves. We won't say that the government is not helping, but we are retrogressing beyond imagination. Because of that, our lives depend on farming. We don't trade, we don't engage in other civil jobs, but sometimes NGOs come to help us to survive. Our grazing lands are all gone. Sahara has taken over in all the local governments. In Nigeria, none is suffering like the Yusufra local government area.
On the flip side, the sand dunes presents beautiful scenes with an appealing contours of the sand. No doubt, this equals the sand dunes many go to spend holidays in Dubai.
The vast land of just pure deserts. I have never seen that big a desert, like purely open. You could see, if you could see 20 kilometers ahead, you could see all of it is just plain sand, beautiful, the sun. I don't think you can step your foot on without wearing shoes on the sand because it's really, really hot. I went there when it was the peak season for the heat. I can't remember. That was my very first one, but I've probably been there in December as well as September, still very hot. My experience for me, one of the things I would take is the purpose-built vehicles you have for those particular, when I'm talking about those particular activity, is the SUV vehicles driving around, and you have like the vehicle come off a cliff. One time I thought I had died. The very first time, the vehicle came off a cliff, and we literally landed face first, and the vehicle went back, and we continued driving. So the drivers have been very experienced. At the desert, there are not mud houses, but wooden houses where when the sun comes down, we have dinner, if you want to stay over, bonfires. It's really beautiful. It's intentionally done to help encourage people to come. And if we do have that in Nigeria, it's easy. I mean, the government doesn't have to spend its own money. You know, get people who are interested in investment, both local and international, give them the space. I think give them